Last night, besides An Evening with Campea, Harloff, and Alba, there was another big event in the world of entertainment. The Last of Us, episode 6, aired last night. Now, a little bit later today at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time, that'll be 6 p.m. New York time, we're going to be doing our Last of Us open spoiler discussion after show. So that's where we'll talk in all the beautiful details about the episode. You can come on back and join us for that. For now, we're going to talk about it kind of in a non-spoilery way. Last night's episode, again, coming off of the way episode 5 ended. Oh my God, with Henry and Sam and just the stunning turn of events there that just, even whether you knew the story or not, left everybody gasping and heartbreaking and ugly crying across the world. How do you follow that up? You follow it up with a pure character story. And I will tell you what, I think episode 6, and this is going to surprise some people, I think it might be my favorite episode of the season so far. Wow. Because it was all character. And primarily, it was all Joel and his character. And the episode, again, without going into spoilery details, the episode does a couple of things. Lesser writers, lesser shows, and lesser movies, our heroes are often infallible. And they're powerful. And they're strong. And a lot of things that heroes should be. And certainly this show, The Last of Us, has shown Joel to be those things. But this episode to me was a huge reminder. These characters are human. And we see Joel struggle. And at the end of the day, there's a particular scene where he's talking to his brother, and then he walks out of the room and something happens. And I remember I was hit with this big realization of the show is reminding us that Joel, after 20 years, is still a very, very broken man. He has never recovered from the loss of his daughter. He has never been able to deal with, come to terms with, come to grips with, or move on from the death of his daughter. And as we're watching this movie, particularly there's a great scene with him and his brother where that I was, more than I was in the Henry and Sam scene, I felt like I was on the verge of tears. And again, it was just really emphasizing again, guys, don't forget our hero. He is a very broken human being. And he himself is coming to terms, he's finally maybe coming to terms with the fact of his own brokenness. And I was watching this episode and I was hanging on every damn word, every interaction, including like after, Joel's wrestling with his brokenness, an interaction he has with Ellie, which is just moving and heartbreaking. And God, this show, I often talk about, film franchises need to learn to change levels, right? Like that's MMA talk for, you got to change levels here and there. Last of Us, episode to episode, is constantly changing the levels, keeping us on our toes, surprising us, hitting us emotionally out of left field when we weren't expecting it to come. And that's why, to me, while you could make the argument not a whole ton happens in the episode, and I don't refute that. To me, I think it might be my favorite episode of the season so far because it was so much about character and looking at the human condition, the reality of being human and the brokenness that we carry with us. I was moved. I thought it was beautiful. I absolutely loved it. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to see last night's episode of The Last of Us. What did you think about it?
It was extraordinary. And for me, there's two scenes. There's a very famous scene from the game that they recreated, but it was the scene with his brother, when he finally comes clean and explains what happened. Pedro Pascal's performance in that scene was extraordinary. And it's basically him in his face. He wasn't even moving. He was sitting down talking to his brother. And, that's a hard thing to do for an actor. And I think what's really interesting to me when I was watching this, I know there's a lot of people out there that are on the fence about this adaptation. And they'll say things like, there was no action in this movie. Or in this episode, there was no clickers in this episode. There was.
And try not to give details about the episode.
Well, I mean, it was all, like you said, it's all about character, and that's what the game is about, and that's what this story is about. And I was like, this might be one of the greatest adaptations of one thing into another medium that I've ever seen.
Video game or otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'm just looking at this, and I know that there's a lot of people because, you know, when you're playing a game, there has to be gameplay. This has shown that you can make a tremendously faithful adaptation to a video game in another medium that actually is not the game, but is the game. And people that love the game have to look at this and go, and I've been amazed, this accentuates the game itself. And it's an incredible, faithful adaptation, but it's not the game. Because gameplay is what a video game's about, not so much story. And even though the story's there, we imbue the game story with more emotion than's really there because we don't get a lot of it. And so when you get the cutscenes, it's really impactful. But in this, to watch an actor's face for 5 minutes talking to you, and it's a human being, it's not a CG, it's not a motion capture character, not to say that that's not easy to do, it's not, but it was amazing. And I was just, this kind of drama, it doesn't matter whether it's in a post-apocalyptic show, you don't get this kind of acting and drama in many things. And this is an extraordinary television series. And every week, dude, I'm like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna destroy me emotionally? Are they gonna make my heart hurt? Like, what kind of an emotional turmoil am I gonna feel after this hour's over? I can't remember the last time I felt that way about anything. And it happens every episode.
And I couldn't believe how much tension I felt. And again, this doesn't give anything away. In a simple scene of Ellie with a puppy. And I can't even believe how much stress and tension I felt in that moment. Anyway, Chris, you had a chance to check out the new episode of The Last of Us. What did you think about it?
Oh, man. I mean, Rob, you kind of nailed it. I went from having a big Last of Us party every Sunday to, I don't want to watch this with you guys. I want to be alone with my feelings. This was a great episode. I wouldn't say this is my favorite. I still am Team Bill and Frank. I think that episode was one of the best.
That's one of the best episodes of television.
It's so good.
In so many years.
But this was phenomenal. This was so well done. And the beat for beat video game moments were done so well. There's a very specific scene that many people are familiar with. It's something that I make my class watch every time we do mocap to be like, look at the nuance, look at what you can do with motion capture. And for them to have that translate to film so well is just phenomenal. This is Pedro Pascal's Emmy campaign episode. He is so good in this. And Bella really steps up too. She gives him all this energy for him to really hit those emotional moments. It's so well done. There's just one thing at the end where I went, well, that's stupid. And we'll talk about that in the spoilers later. Yeah,
if you guys will come on back and join us for that at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time. That's 6 p.m. New York time. We hope you guys will come back and join us for our Last of Us open spoiler discussion show. But guys, now the question is for you. Did you guys have a chance to see the new episode of Last of Us? This show continues to, like you said, this whole series is an ongoing Emmy campaign. I'm just absolutely floored by this. I'll tell you what, Succession has got its hands full this year with a very serious contender in The Last of Us. And I love what you said. This isn't just clearly the best video game adaptation of all time. This is one of the best adaptations, period, of any medium.
Dude, from any translation from one medium to another, I'm stunned every week by this show.
What do you guys think? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down into the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Fume. Be smart. Don't start. Kick the habit. Put it out before it puts you out. All phrases we've heard 100 times, and yet we still continue to have bad habits. Today's sponsor, Fume, is on a mission to accelerate humanity's breakup from the bad habits that consume far too many of us. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. You see, Fume is not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. Because instead of pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals like a vape, Fume uses cores infused with plants like peppermint and cinnamon for delicious natural flavors. And Fume's new version 2 model is snappy and tactile. With an adjustable airflow dial and a magnetic end cap, your fingers will always have something to do. The device itself is really attractive, and once I popped in the core and took my first inhale of it, it tasted fantastic. Guys, the easiest way to stop a bad habit is to switch to a positive one, and Fume is designed to perfectly do just that. So head over to tryfume.com and use the promo code Campea to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors and the new version 2 Fume to help kickstart your positive habits. That's tryfume, TRYFUM.com, and use the code Campea to save an additional 10% off your order today.